You reserve to me the difficult question.
Of course, okay. You're the host, okay.
But let me give a quick comment on the ASEAN way.
Oh, sure.
I thought you were asking me and you asked Bo, so I was frustrated. Anyway, just give me a minute. Well, ASEAN way. I go back to what Peter presented. You know, you said this is an experiment. Turned out to be a successful experiment in the ASEAN way. That should complete the sentence of Peter. What I'm saying is, okay, some people look at ASEAN way as some sort of a hindrance or something that arrests, you know, the integration and the fuller achievement of an economic community. But maybe, on the contrary, if you look at the books that have been published, there are 5 volumes coming out, right? Pons, we have 4 now. And if you read through the 4 volumes and the 5th is coming, you will see the story of how ASEAN has really evolved through the years in the ASEAN way. Now, people are impatient and say, well, what business do we have in waiting for the list, you know, ready, to become ready so that we can go ahead. Now, what we can say is that countries are in different levels of development, so they have different paces, and we have to respect that. And as Bo said, there's no political, use the term, framework, may say, that will really impose on countries to, you know, gravitate towards a common policy. So the approach is gradualism, the approach is experimentation, the approach is nesting the discussion within the cultural context of the ASEAN. So it has worked for us. Now, maybe we could have done it faster, you know, if we didn't do the ASEAN way. Just say, well, those are ready, we go ahead. Now, what we're seeing here is an asymmetric implementation. Bo was saying 2 minus x, yes, 10 minus x, minus y minus z, whatever. So, the ASEAN leaders and the community have realized that, and therefore they have come up with this sort of a solution, okay? And it's within, again, the context of agreements and consensus. So the ASEAN way, driving it by consensus, you know, being patient, they have these merits. I don't have time to elaborate on this, but that's essentially what I want to say. It has worked for us, and it's going to work for us in the next 50 years, even as countries around the region realize that they have to really gear up. Because the competition could be the driving thing. You know, even the countries who are lesser developed could, in the case of Vietnam, he said, we were not in this at the beginning. What he's saying is that, but now we are at the forefront of this ASEAN Economic Community experiment. On the CSO, what do I know?
The question, mostly the question.
But the concern is CSOs are not engaged.
Yeah.
And the question is, how can they be brought to the table?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, right now, around the table, who are talking? Government, academics, researchers like us, and who else?
Media.
The media. And the CSOs are not there. So, challenge is how to bring them in. I think CSOs should take a particular interest in what's happening in the ASEAN, and not to be very insular about their thinking. I'm not generalizing, but I've talked to some of them, and the attitude is, okay, we have enough problems of our own, why do we bother with these larger things? So, one is get to be better informed, and the way to do that is to go to the PIDS website and start to read the publication of PIDS. We've done tons of work on this, and not bragging, but also as well go to the website of the area and try to see how civil society can meaningfully contribute to the discussion. Second is, you know, I'm not talking now of civil society, but some attitude coming out, attitude to be dismissive of intellectual pursuits. How do I say this? You know? Because I was in a hearing in the Senate the other day, And there was a big question. And of course, researchers like us, academics, say, we need to study this more deeply, this particular issue. And of course, you can expect the politician would say, there's no more need for study. Now is the time for action. So this kind of attitude, dismissive of intellectual pursuits. I think if civil society wants to come in and engage the ASEAN community in a meaningful discussion, then they must adopt this habit, this practice of asking and trying to analyze, and not banking on the viva voce. How do you say that? The loud voice in the room. You know, if you come into the room, you can argue, but you argue out of passion and out of your maybe some anger or some frustration with how society is doing, but without the depth of analysis, economic, political, social, then you have really nothing. You're just like a tingling cymbal.